All right, let's start with prayer. Dear God, thank you for the time that we have sharing and fun. God, we ask now that you will be with us during this study.
I don't know how to get
We
it.
will learn from you, that we will hear your voice. Guide us through this really difficult chapters that we're looking at. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
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 How do I get it on speaker?
How do you get it on speaker? You should be able to touch the little bottom button on your phone and it should come up for speaker. You should have a button you can push.
Calendar, FaceTime, photos, contacts.
No, you
Weather, no.
contacts.
Well, that's a nice picture.
Don't you have to make like you're going to make a phone call, get that screen up?
Yeah, if you just touch the bottom button on your phone, it should come up that you can say, find it where it says speaker.
Mine doesn't.
Okay. Favorites, recent contacts, keypad, voicemail.
Here, Dottie, this is what else you can do. You can give Catherine those numbers that I told you, and she can dial on her own phone, and she can
On
come
her
in.
own phone, okay. Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
All right, so I'm going to get
Go.
started while you're working
Number
on
so
that.
You can get it on your phone.
So we are on chapter 17.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, so last week we had two really wild chapters. Does anybody remember anything about them? You can
First
look.
one's one.
Plagues. It was plagues.
Yeah.
Plagues. We had all kinds of plagues. The 7 bowls of plagues and the angels coming down, and it was not pleasant scene.
Mm-hmm.
So we had those last week, and the terrors from God. We had the temple. We had the references to the tabernacle, the tent, and the Shekinah glory again with the presence of God. So all that. We had unclean spirits like frogs and the croaking of frogs, and
You put that
whoa.
one.
So today it's going to get even wilder.
Oh, good.
Here's the thing I want to tell you before we get started with this. So 17 is going to give us this really wild picture, and then this voice is going to tell the author, well, now I'm going to explain to you what they mean. And when we hear the explanation, it makes it even less clear than it was before when we saw the original one. So
Oh, goody, thanks.
try to get through this, and it's this author suggests that we read the whole chapter first, and then we'll break it down. So someone would like to start reading chapter 17. And if you get tired of reading, someone else can come in.
I can start.
Okay, thanks, Dan.
One of the 7 angels who had the 7 bowls came and said to me, "Come, I will show you the punishment of the great prostitute who sits on many waters. With her the kings of each committed adultery, and the inhabitants of the earth were intoxicated with the wine of her adulterers." Then the angel carried me away in the spirit into the desert. There I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet beast that was covered with blasphemous names and had 7 heads and 10 horns.
Bottom number.
The woman was dressed in purple and scarlet and was glittering with gold, precious stones, and pearls. She held a golden cup in her hand, filled with abominable things and the filth of her adulteries. This title was written on her forehead: Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of prostitutes and of all the abominations of the earth. I'll let somebody else go on.
I can continue. Okay, go ahead.
You go ahead.
I could see that she was drunk with the blood of God's holy people who were witnesses for Jesus. I stared at her in complete amazement. Why are you so amazed? The angel asked. I will tell you the mystery of this woman and of the beast with 7 heads and 10 horns on which she sits. The beast you saw was once alive, but isn't now. And yet he will soon come out of the bottomless pit and go to eternal destruction. And the people who belong to this world, whose names were not written in the book of life before the world was made, will be amazed at the reappearance of this beast who had died. Okay, Kay, thank you.
This calls for wisdom and understanding. The 7 heads are 7 hills on which the woman sits. They are also 7 kings. 5 of them have fallen, 1 still rules, and the other one has not yet come. When he comes, he must rule only a little while. And the beast that was once alive but lives no longer is itself an 8th king, who is one of the 7 and is going off to be destroyed. The 10 horns you saw are 10 kings who have not yet begun to rule, but who will be given authority to rule as kings for 1 hour with the beast. Somebody else can read.
They will all agree to give him their power and authority. Together they will go to war against the Lamb, but the Lamb will defeat them because he is Lord of all lords and King of all kings, and his called and chosen and faithful ones will be with him. Then the angel said to me, the waters where the prostitute is ruling represent masses of people of every nation and language. The scarlet beast and his 10 horns all hate the prostitute. They will strip her naked, eat her flesh, and burn her remains with fire.
Yes.
For God has but put a plan into their minds, a plan that will carry out his purposes. They will agree to give their authority to the scarlet beast, and so the words of God will be fulfilled. And this woman you saw in your vision represents the great city that rules over the kings of the world.
Wow.
Okay,
Yeah,
did all
that's a-
know when you got the
Hi,
explanation?
Sue.
Hi, Sue.
Oh, hi, Sue. That's
I'm
about as
feeling-
plain as mud, that whole
I
thing.
was, thank you,
Yeah,
Kay, yes.
Explanation. Guys, just got it. Dottie, you are muted. I muted you. Can you hang up and call back in again? See if she does. All right. So let's see what we can do. Anybody have any clue, anything jump out at you as anything that we've talked about before, anything you've learned through history?
Well,
What
seven
chapter
came
are
up
we
a
on?
lot.
We are on chapter 17, Sue.
Thank you.
Is the city they're talking about, is the city Babylon? Is that the city they're talking about?
Well, they're talking about Babylon. We've got Babylon. I mean, in verse 5, we have Babylon there. So what have we talked about that Babylon is represented? Is
The Roman Empire.
Roman, okay, the Roman Empire, but probably more specifically in this one is Rome.
Okay.
Is
Rome.
what?
Rome.
Rome.
Rome. All right. So we got some hints about that. Have you ever heard of Rome as the city of the 7 hills?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So there's something that jumps out at us. Okay. So
Sorry.
let's start from the beginning part. So we've got this, the judgment of the great prostitute who sits upon many waters. And so Babylon, originally Babylon had a river ran right through Babylon, and it was the center of irrigation in that area. So whenever we see this, something that sits on the great waters, we know this is all focused on Babylon, which is Rome. But Rome doesn't have the same water thing going on. So the writer's going to explain that in a little bit. So our first one, we have this vision. It's going to talk about things and who has become drunk. But look at verse 3. What happens in verse 3?
Went into the wilderness.
Okay, can you think of anyone else ever that went into the wilderness to have an encounter with God?
Moses,
Moses, there's number 1.
Jesus.
Jesus.
Mike's here with Mike's pen, and I think this is your mug, right? That's that man.
John, right? John the Baptist.
John the Baptist was in the wilderness. That was kind of a pretty common theme through the Bible. Go out into the desert. into the wilderness to have this, to be in tune with the spirit. So this is where the writer is going and is going to see this vision that is just wild. So we see the woman and the prostitute, the harlot, however your version says. And what's she dressed like?
Purple and scarlet clothing.
What else?
Gold
Jewelry.
ornaments.
Golden
Pearls.
precious gems and pearls.
Okay, she is just got a lot of bling.
Decked out.
Absolutely.
A lot of what?
All right,
Bling.
bling.
Bling is a lot of jewelry and sparkles and
Yeah. And on her, what is this? On her forehead, it says on verse 5, there was written a name with a meaning which was secret except those who knew the meaning. Babylon the Great, the mother of the harlots and the abominations of the earth. Okay, so if this is different than the beast, because we have she's sitting on the beast with the 7 horns and the 10 heads and 7 horns, or which is it? 7 horns and 10 heads.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
7 heads and 10 horns, right? It's got to have more horns than heads. Can't be the other way around. Okay, so if the harlot, the prostitute is Rome, now prostitutes in Rome would wear little head things that had their name on it. That was their identification as prostitutes. So that's very clear that the way she's dressed, everything about her is totally and 100% a vision of a prostitute. And let's see, everything about Rome. So we've got this vision. All right. And she was drunk with the blood of God's dedicated people and the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. That's pretty clear. Everybody understand that vision?
no, I don't. So I was going to ask you.
All right. So, well, someone else. I'm going to let somebody else put the words in. So obviously there's been martyrs that are Christians, and she's just drinking this all in and just in giddy and all the drunkenness that you can because of these people who have been killed, who died. She's just
Oh.
killed by that. All right. So now we're going to go on to the vision explained. So first of all, who is, let's see, we have the beast. If we have the woman who is Rome, who's the beast?
The Roman Empire.
There we go. Roman Empire.
All right, Dan. Ding, ding.
Okay. So the Roman Empire is, let me get my notes here.
Okay, so you're saying the beast represents here the Roman Empire.
Yeah, the beast represents the Roman Empire, and in Babylon represents Rome, and the woman herself is Rome. Now,
But wait, so you're saying, but the woman represented the martyrs.
no, the woman doesn't represent the martyrs. She is
She's drinking
rejoicing.
the mar-
That's
blood.
a martyr,
That's what I meant. Sorry, I didn't word that.
right?
well.
Drunk with
Okay.
their blood. So it
Drunk
gets
with the blood
crazy.
of the martyrs. Okay.
All right. Now then we look at the beast, and what does the beast have written on him? Okay, so the beast is where verse 7. And let me see if I've got it. I'm looking at, I'm going back up. Verse 4, going back here, there's a couple things. She had in her hand a golden cup full of abomination and unclean things of her fornication. That's verse 4. So let's just talk about what Rome was like at this period of time. Anybody have any ideas or clues about what was in this time in history, what Rome was like?
My guess would be is they were very immoral.
Mhm.
I think it's kind of the Las Vegas of the
Mm,
Mhm.
world, Sin City. What happens in Rome stays in Rome. And it wasn't just the this author said it wasn't just the expression of some overly judgmental Christians. It was the view of the historians of the time that everything bad and awful and that you could think of. I mean, just this, and also very wealthy. They had all kinds of everything because this was the center of commerce. It was just the epitome of greed and lust. This is what Rome was known for. So here we have the prostitution, everything that's going on. Now I'm losing my place. I did read a lot of this trying to figure all this out. Okay, where was the one that said they had all kinds of blasphemous names? I'm trying to find that verse. Is that the beast that had the blasphemous names written on it?
I thought that was,
Is that 3?
This is the one that-
She was sitting on a red beast that had names insulting God written all over it.
Okay, she did that, but I think the beast also had them.
Right, she was sitting on the beast that had the names insult.
Okay,
Yes.
so what,
That's 3.
there was another place I maybe got it all.
Okay,
Okay, anyways, what would be these kind of names? And why would they think that there was names? What would be the most insulting thing that you could be saying if you weren't God? Looking at the emperors, what did they call themselves, the emperors of Rome?
didn't they call themselves gods?
Yeah, what did the emperors call themselves?
Didn't they call themselves gods?
They called themselves God. There was they called themselves divine. They were called let's see what else, savior. All of the things that we would call God, they were called. So these were really blasphemous names. And I'm sorry, I got so deep in this, I'm just trying to have trouble trying to figure out all my notes.
If you can't figure it out, you know that we're lost.
And all right, so the beast that I'm looking at, we've got the 7 heads and 10 horns. Have we had this before? Has that come up in Revelation before this? The beast with the 7 heads and the 10 horns?
I think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. Okay, so this is that Roman Empire, and the 7 heads are the 7 mountains on which the woman is seated. So the 7 heads are Rome, and and here's the one. So here we are. I'm going to go to verse 10. 5 kings have fallen. The one is, and the other hasn't yet come. When the king comes, he must remain only for a short time. As for the beast that was and is not, and is itself an 8th king that belongs to the 7 and is going to destruction. Now that is as clear as absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
But we'll get to the bottom of it. All right, so if we look at the Roman Empire, up to this point, there were the first 5 emperors: Augustus, Tiberius, Caligula, Claudius, and Nero. So there's 5. So those were the first 5 have fallen. And then there was a time after that, there was just instability. And the first king that came back came only for a short time. That was Tiberius. I believe he was only there for 2 years. And then Vespasian came, and he was there following the death of Nero. He reigned for 10 years. And then after Vespasian came Domitian,
Oh, that's right.
the emperor when this was written. And he was the evil, awful emperor. So now let's look at that. So we've got this. So if you're the writer and you're living during Domitian, now remember, time flexibility in the apocryphal literature is not always. So if he goes back and he's looking as he's living during the time of Vespasian, and then he sees what's coming ahead, so he can predict if he's going back in the future, he can predict what's happening because it's already happened, but he's writing it if he's written it from before time. Does that make it clear at all? He's going back. So because the reason he has to go back is we've talked about Nero before. Anybody remember anything specific we've talked about Nero? Well, tell me everything you know about Nero.
He persecuted. And
He
then
was
he,
the one that began the persecution of the Christians.
And he maybe started the fire that burned Rome and then blamed it on the Christians.
Right?
That's right.
That's Nero.
Okay.
But there was also this legend that Nero was coming back again.
That's right.
oh, yeah.
All right. So there was that thing. Remember, there was the wounded head before that had come back to life. Well, this one is saying that when Nero died, he was so evil that the evil didn't die with him. So he came back personified as Domitian. Because Domitian was just pure evil. There's many, many pages in this book that talked about the horrible things that Domitian did. So that makes sense if he's the 8th, but actually he was before, and he's coming back again. So let's look at that verse again. And starting at verse 10. So just think what we've told about. 5 kings have fallen. The one is, and the other hasn't come yet. When that king comes, he must remain for only a short time. So 5 are gone. We have Vespasian. We have Tiberius coming. As for the beast that was and is not, it is itself an 8th king that belongs to the 7 and is going to destruction. So if this is Nero coming back to life, is Domitian, his evil influence, he's the 8th, but he also belongs to the 7 before that. So now does that make a little more sense?
A little more.
Yes.
A little more.
Yes, it does.
Remember, we're writing this in an apocryphal way to a bunch of people that we certainly don't want the current emperor to know that he is the beast. Because if anyone gets the news of it, they're all dead. So this is more in code and giving you saying, okay, here's what's happening. All right. Whoa. So we've got the 10 horns that you saw are the 10 kings who haven't yet received any royal power. Whoa. These are crazy times. So let me find that is verse. We've got the great harlot. We've got the blood of the martyrs. And
Wow.
Sorry about this.
okay, the 10, this is likely that the 10 kings are the satraps of the east and of Parthia, whom the resurrected Nero, the Antichrist, is to lead against Rome. Or they may simply stand for all the world powers, which in the end will turn against Rome and destroy her. So there's something coming. There's things that are coming. These kings will have one mind, and they will give their power and authority to the beast. They will make war on the Lamb, for the Lamb will emerge victorious, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings. With those with him are called chosen and faithful. All right. So who is the Lamb?
Christ.
Christ. Christ is the Lamb. And whatever happens, so we've got Rome, this great harlot, where every evil imaginable is happening. Lust, greed, everything in those. And then we have the Roman Empire that is a beast with all kinds of abominations going on. And then we have these 10 kings that are going to join forces with Rome to go against the Lamb. But who's going to win?
The Lamb.
The Lamb. All right, now a little more explanation. We've got, then he said, the waters that you saw where the prostitute is seated are peoples, crowds, nations, and languages. As for the 10 horns you saw, they and the beast
Right out loud.
prostitute. They will devour her and strip her bare. They will devour her flesh and burn her with fire, because God moved them to carry out this purpose. So what was the end of the Roman Empire? As we look back on it, we know what was it that conquered Rome?
It's been a long time since I've been in history class.
Able to know that. What was it? Who conquered Rome?
I'm not the only one who doesn't know.
You're right.
I give you a hint.
Okay.
It wasn't anybody.
Oh,
Oh, they just destroyed themselves,
They
did they?
destroyed themselves.
There you go.
Rome crumbled in on itself
Yeah.
because of corruption, and it just
Yeah.
destroyed itself. So
Which- That's my fear for our country. That's all I'm gonna say,
yeah,
that we're our own worst enemy sometimes.
yeah.
Go ahead.
So this is Rome, and it did destroy itself, and the Roman Empire hated Rome. And there was this fighting going on within it, and they gave the worst possible punishments, destroyed her with fire, did all of the terrible things that were going on as punishment to the Christians at that time. That is why they will be of one mind and give their royal power to the beast until God's words have been accomplished. The woman who you saw is the great city that rules over the kings of the earth. Can that be any more clear that that woman is Rome? Because at that time, Rome ruled over everything in the earth. So this whole chapter is on the destruction of the Roman Empire, that God is going to be in charge. So there's lots of, and there's references, and the references to Babylon are through the Bible. That Babylon is a representation of evil. And there's another thing here. One other thing I found too. There's, in the 2 verses, Rome is described as a great harlot. More than once in the Old Testament, heathen and disobedient cities are described as harlots. And thus, that Nahum describes Nineveh when he speaks of a great multitude of whoredom and well-favored harlot. So it goes on and on and on. There's a way of speaking that is strange to modern ears, but here's a great symbolism behind it. Behind it is the idea of God as the lover of the souls of his people. There was an old Latin commentator that said, Rome is called a harlot because she left her creator and prostituted herself with devils. When we turn our backs upon God, it is not so much a sin against law as a sin against love. And there's another idea behind this. Beckwith suggests that Rome is called the great harlot because she is an allurement to godlessness and immorality. The sin of the harlot is not only that she sins herself, but also that she deliberately persuades others into sin. God will never hold guiltless the person who seduces others into sin.
Let's see, didn't you seduce Dottie with something a couple of weeks ago to eat. What was that?
Tim Hortons Timbit.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Oh, yeah, Timbits, that's right. Okay, enough of that.
All right. So Rome is this terrible place that's leading others to sin. But there's one piece before we go on to chapter 18 that says, who is not going to be affected by this destruction? It is in verse, someplace in the middle. Verse 8.
It's a long verse.
Yeah, okay.
Whose names were not written in the book of life.
Okay.
I don't know whose names will be. No,
Well, that doesn't make sense to me.
no, that doesn't make sense.
Those, let's see, the beast that you saw wasn't, it will go about and come out of the abyss and go on to destruction. Those who live on earth, whose names haven't been written in the scroll of life from the time earth was made, will be amazed when they see the beast, because it was and is not and will be again. So what does anybody else have anything other than amazed? Another adjective for that?
Mm-mm.
Astonished.
If you're amazed, is that a good thing?
Sometimes.
Yeah. So all the people that aren't in the book of life are going to see this Nero coming back to life, and then they're going to go, oh, yay, he's coming back. So they're going to be in the midst of the amazement and all the stuff that's going on, and the people with in the names with the book of life are going, not going to have any part of it. So they're not going to be in the midst of it. And we also have then in verse 14 that who's going to become victorious? Those with him are called, chosen, and faithful. So we've got that, we know who's going down and who's going to be the victor. The faithful, the ones that were written in the book of life from the beginning of time. All right, so we've got this wild picture, but it's the destruction of Rome.
Okay.
Anybody, you got, I'm trying to make it as clear as I can make it from what I've read. But do you have questions on this chapter?
I'm not even sure what questions to even ask sometimes. So
Like I said,
thank you. You're
You're not the only one.
Making it clear enough so you can ask the question. It's Rome is the harlot, full of all of the vices of the world. And the beast is the Roman Empire with the abominations, and the one that was and is and isn't to come is Nero resurrected, and we've got the death of the other emperors. I think it's all just pretty clear. And they're going to all join forces for the battle with the Lamb. The Lamb's going to win. And then the beast itself is going to destroy, the Roman Empire itself is going to destroy Rome. So let's think about us now as the Christians that are being persecuted. And what are we going? What are we doing at this point? It's going to end. The Lamb is going to win. And all of this evilness and all of the stuff that's pulling people in, all of the pull. I mean, I just always think of Las Vegas, you know, and it just Sin City and all of the pull that it has and all the things you can go and do bad things and it stays there. And you think how many people, Las Vegas has been the ruin of so many lives. The gambling and all of the vices. While it looks like so much fun and attraction, it's really just awful. And so if we can compare this with what's going on at Rome, I think that gives us a better picture of what the whole chapter is about. Okay, let's move on to chapter 18. If someone would like to read, let's see, do we want it? We don't need to read the whole thing of this first. Let's read 18, 1 through 3.
I can do that.
Thank you.
After I saw another angel coming down out of heaven. After this, I saw another angel coming down out of heaven. He had great authority, and his splendor brightened the whole earth. He cried out in a loud voice, "She has fallen. Great Babylon has fallen. She is now haunted by demons and unclean spirits. All kinds of filthy and hateful birds live in her. For all the nations have drunk her wine, the strong wine of her immoral lust. The kings of the earth practiced sexual immorality with her, and the businessmen of the world grew rich from her unrestrained lust."
Okay, we're going to read a few things. We're going to go on a little scavenger hunt. So someone tell me you'll read Isaiah 13, 19 through 22. Who will look that one up?
I can do that one.
Okay, Carol's got that one. The next one, Isaiah 34, 11 through 15. Someone else.
We can do it.
Okay. Jeremiah 50, 39, and 51, 37.
What?
Jeremiah 50, 39, and 51, 37. Okay, can you do that?
Yeah, I don't quite understand what you said though.
Jeremiah 50,
Yeah,
39,
50.
and then 51, 37. There's two
Oh,
separate verses.
51, 37. Gotcha. Okay.
And who then will look up Zephaniah 2, 13 through 15? Dan, will you look up that one? Zephaniah 2, 13 through 15.
All right, babe, don't make me come over there. You girls behave.
Okay, these are the doom songs. Okay, Isaiah 13, 19 through 22.
19. Babylonia is the most beautiful kingdom of all. It is the pride of its people. But I, the Lord, will overthrow Babylon as I did Sodom and Gomorrah. No one will ever live there again. No wandering Arab will ever pitch his tent there. And no shepherd will ever pasture his flock there. It will be a place where desert animals live, where owls build their nests. Ostriches will live there, and wild goats will prance through the ruins. The towers and palaces will echo with the cries of the hyenas and the jackals. Babylon's time has come. Her days are almost over. Oh. Okay.
Okay, that sound a little familiar from what we just read?
Mm-hmm.
Wild beasts. All right, now let's do Isaiah 34, 11 through 15.
It will be haunted by the desert owl and the screech owl and the great owl and the raven. For God will measure that land carefully. He will measure it for chaos and destruction. It will be called the land of nothing, and all its nobles will soon be gone. Thorns will overrun its palaces. Nettles and thistles will grow in its forts. The ruins will become a haunt for jackals and a home for owls. Desert animals will mingle there with hyenas, their howls filling the night. Wild goats will bleat at one another among the ruins, and night creatures will come there to rest. There the owl will make her nest and lay her eggs. She will hatch her young and cover them with her wings, and the buzzards will come, each one with its mate.
Okay, pretty desolate place. Okay, now Jeremiah 50, 39, and 51, 37.
And so Babylon will be haunted by demons and evil spirits and by unclean birds. Never again will people live there, not for all time to come. And I lost it.
51, 37.
37, 27. That country will become a pile of ruins where wild animals live. It will be a horrible sight. No one will live there, and all who see it will be terrified. Wow.
Okay, all about Babylon. And now Zephaniah 2, 13, 15.
13 to 15. He will stretch out his hand against the north and destroy Assyria, leaving Nineveh utterly desolate and dry as the desert. Flocks and herds will lie down there, creatures of every kind. The desert owl and the screech owl will roost on her columns. Their calls will echo through the windows, rubble will be in the doorways. The beams of cedar will be exposed. This is a carefree city that lived in safety. She said to herself, I am, and there are none besides me. What a ruin she has become, a lair for wild beasts. And all who pass by her scoff and shake their fists.
Okay, so we've got this theme of doom that's come through a lot of different places. And it's very, very much the same. Everything is bad. Yes,
I've got a question. I've got a question. So the owl keeps being mentioned. Is there some significance to that? I mean, other animals were too, but it just seems like the owl was mentioned. Kind of like frogs have a connotation of
I
judgment
didn't
or
have
whatever.
anything with it, only that it just, in this says that the unclean, it was an unclean bird.
Gotcha.
You don't eat a bird of prey.
Okay, right.
So that's it. Just mine has ostriches a lot. And this whatever. You didn't have any ostriches, but it's the unclean animals.
Okay, that makes
What
sense.
it is. I think that's all it was significant. But
Yeah, no, that's
And
Babylon's
keep
going down.
About the hyenas, and then all I can think of is the Lion King.
Yeah.
Remember when all the hyenas were?
Hyenas are really nasty animals. They're just, you don't want to be around them. So it's a mess. And it's just, what is that? What does that give you a picture of when you read these things? What's the city?
Oh.
that's
It makes me think of hell.
Yeah, it's just, it ruins. The city is in
Yeah.
ruins. It's gone. Things are, the grass is growing up and all the just unclean animals and birds are living there. It's just, people are gone. It's been destroyed. All right, let's go verses chapter Revelation 18, 4 through 5 now.
I can do it.
Okay,
Then I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out, my people, come out from her. You must not take part in her sins. You must not share in her punishment. For her sins are piled up as high as heaven, and God remembers her wicked ways.
Okay. I think this one's pretty easy. What's the voice telling the Christians to do?
get out of there.
Out of there.
Get out of there. Don't have any part of it. Don't get mixed up in the mess. Just get out if you can. Get away from it. Stay away, or at least stay away. Don't get mixed up with the luring of the silver and the lush lifestyle and the gluttony and all the things that are going on. Stay away. Get out. It's going down. Not too difficult. For once, we got something that was a little easy in these two chapters. All right, now 18, 6 through 8.
I got it.
Okay.
Give back to her as she has given. Pay her back double for what she has done. Mix her a double portion from her own cup. Give her as much torture and grief as the glory and luxury she gave herself. In her heart she boasts, I sit as queen. I am not a widow, and I will never mourn. Therefore, in one day her plagues will overtake her, death and mourning and famine. She will be consumed by fire, for mighty is the Lord God who judges her.
All right. Someone want to look up Matthew 7:2 and Exodus 22, 4, 7, and 9. Just those two. Someone has those you can read.
What was Exodus?
Exodus 22, 4, 7, 9,
What was the Matthew? Matthew 7.
7, 2.
Got that one. I've got that one.
Okay, go ahead, Carol.
Okay. For God will judge you in the same way you judge others, and he will apply to you the same rules you apply to others.
Okay. So it's whatever this harlot has done, she's getting double back, whatever's been done to her. Okay, and Dan, do you have Exodus 22?
I got it. If the stolen animal is found alive in his possession, whether ox or donkey or sheep, he must pay back double. If a man gives his neighbor silver or goods for safekeeping, and they were stolen from the neighbor's house, the thief, if he is caught, must pay back double. But if the thief is not found, the owner of the house must appear before the judges to determine whether he has laid his hands on the other man's property. What else did you want?
And 9.
9. In all cases of illegal possession of an ox, a donkey, a sheep, a garment, or any other lost properties about which somebody says, "This is mine," both parties are to bring their cases before the judges. The one whom the judge declares guilty must pay back double to his neighbor.
Okay, pretty clear that double portion that she's getting back. How are you feeling now if you're the Christian church?
Getting justice, revenge.
Indicated.
Yeah? Anybody feeling a little bad?
Probably should.
I know we should, but I don't think I am.
They're probably, I mean, if they're under the persecution. This is my take, and just someplace I read, I'm not sure where, that you really don't want anybody to go through judgment. But if they're doing these really evil things, they're making choices. But the important thing is that we really preach, that we live, that we overcome people with love so that they can turn their ways before it's too late. Because we're a church that we don't just exist for ourselves, we exist to bring others to Christ. So as much as they get their just desserts, we really want them to be overcome with love and turn around.
Because we're taught that we should always forgive too, right?
Right. But there's forgiveness for things that people have done, but we don't have to keep ourselves in the same place where we keep being done to again and again.
Right.
We can walk away.
Right.
But
Yes.
We can forgive without reconciliation.
to encourage reconciliation and enjoy. All right. So we've got 3 little laments now. We're going to have the lament of the kings, the lament of the merchants, and the lament of, the lament of the, I thought it was the sailors. Where's that? Oh, yeah. And the lament of the shipbuilders. Now, if Rome is the center of all of this, Rome is the center of the world at that point. And think of all the trade that's going on and the money that's exchanging hands and everything that's happening. And now this one is pronouncing that Rome is falling. So what are you going to do if you're not somebody that lives in Rome but deals with Rome? It's not going to be a pretty picture. So that's what we're going to read now. So someone would read 18, 9, and 10.
Okay, I will.
This is 9 and 10.
Oh, thanks, Sue.
Chapter 18, verses 9 and 10.
I'll do that.
Okay, Sue.
When the kings of the earth who committed adultery with her and shared her luxury see the smoke of her burning, They will weep and mourn over her. Terrified at her torment, they will stand far out and cry, "Woe, woe, O great city, O Babylon, city of power! In 1 hour your doom has come."
Okay. Think of all the kings of all the nations that they've conquered, and then the kings that are set up in all these different nations. And when Rome falls, they begin to fall and they lose all their favor too. Not too much we have to say about that. And now let's read 11 through 16.
Can you hear me read or not?
Yeah, go ahead, Catherine.
That was Dottie that said that.
Oh, Dottie, okay. Yep, read it nice and loud, Dottie.
She's unmute.
I know, but she's talking through Catherine's phone. I don't know how to unmute her.
Okay.
We're each on our own phone.
Dottie, 18, 11 through 16.
The merchants of the earth will fall for her, especially 5 that goes in. You hear?
Not real well.
Maybe someone else.
Maybe someone else should read. Yep, okay.
I could go ahead.
Thanks, Kathy.
The merchants of the world will weep and mourn for her, for there is no one left to buy their goods. She bought great quantities of gold, silver, jewels, and pearls, fine linen, purple, silk, and scarlet cloth, things made of fragrant fine wood, ivory goods, and objects made of expensive woods and bronze, iron, and marble. She also bought cinnamon, spice, incense, myrrh, frankincense, wine, olive oil, fine flour, wheat, cattle, sheep, horses, wagons, and bodies, that is, human slaves. The fancy things you love so much are gone, they cry. All your luxuries and splendor are gone forever, never to be yours again. The merchants who became wealthy by selling her these things will stand at a distance, terrified by her great torment. They will weep and cry out. How terrible for that great city. She was clothed in finest purple and scarlet linens, decked out with gold and precious stones and pearls.
What is static?
Did you want me
Okay,
to?
nope. All of these things were not made up. That were being created at that time. All of the stuff and the great wealth of Rome, as people are, each time they conquered somebody else, they brought the spoils in with them. And it was a very wealthy city. And so of course the merchants are grieving because they've lost all their income. All right, and there's all went page after page of all the wealth that they had, but they had a lot of wealth. So now let's read 17 through 19.
In a single moment, all the wealth of the city is gone, and all the captains of the merchant ships and their passengers and sailors and crews will stand at a distance. They will cry out as they watch the smoke ascend. They will say, "Where is there another city as great as this?" And they will weep and throw dust on their heads to show their grief. And they will cry out, how terrible for that great city. The ship owners became wealthy by transporting her great wealth on the seas, and in a single moment, it is all gone.
This one city had a lot of influence and a lot of people and a lot of the world. So we know that. So the devastation of Rome is going to affect all kinds of everybody. And yet they were so evil. They did such wrong things. Is God going to turn God's back forever? And now the little happy note. 1820.
I can do that.
Okay.
Be glad, heaven, because of her destruction. Be glad, God's people and the apostles and prophets, for God has condemned her for what she did to you.
There we go. So we're sitting in the church and we're reading through these chapters and we're going, oh, This is bad. This is really bad. But we're okay. And it was a choice of this city. So you're looking at it, and I don't know, the emotion I'm feeling with this is, wow, this is bad. And why didn't they make another choice? Okay, we've gotten through 17 and 18. The last two awful chapters. After this, it gets better. So as you're going through this, and I struggle with this, obviously, too. But do you feel you've got a little clearer picture of what's going on here? Okay. Do you have any other questions or comments?
We're not done with 18, are we?
I have more in chapter 18.
You have more of chapter 18?
Yeah,
Yes, we still have,
21
21
through
through
24.
24.
Well, darn, I forgot to turn my page. I even had things underlined. Okay.
let's finish.
Let's read the last 4 verses.
Yeah.
I got it.
Oh, this is a big part of it too. Yeah, okay.
Then a mighty angel picked up a boulder the size of a large millstone and threw it into the sea and said, with such violence, the great city of Babylon will be thrown down, never to be found again. The music of harpists and musicians, flute players and trumpeters will never be heard in you again. No workman of any trade will ever be found in you again. The sound of a millstone will never be heard in you again. The light of a lamp will never shine in you again. The voice of a bridegroom and bride will never be heard in you again. Your merchants were the world's greatest men. By your magic spell, all the nations were led astray. In her was found the blood of prophets and of the saints, of all who have been killed on the earth.
Okay, so this one. Any of you recall any other stories about millstones?
Wasn't there something, didn't Jesus say something about if you caused a child to sin, that would be like having a millstone thrown around your neck and thrown into the lake or something because it's such a horrible thing to do or something like that.
Right. Anyone who causes anyone a little one of these to stumble, it would be better that a millstone were tied around his neck and he was thrown in.
I was close.
And that is like the worst punishment for that culture, because retrieving the body, resurrection came through your physical body. Your body had to be buried, and when you're thrown into the sea, your body is never recovered. So not only are you condemning the person to death, here you're condemning them to eternal death. So here we are. Babylon is like a great millstone and cast into the sea. The worst punishment imaginable, because it'll never be retrieved. It can never be resurrected. It can never come back and be saved. So it's everything. Now they're talking about good things. So all the bad stuff is gone, but all the good things. I mean, I like to think the sound of harpers and minstrels and flute players and trumpeters and craftsmen. Even the good stuff is going to be gone. Because all the nations were led astray by your sorcery, and because was found the blood of the prophets and of God's dedicated ones, and of all who have been slain upon the earth. You did bad things.
I have to leave and go get a granddaughter. Good night, ladies.
All right.
Bye, Dan.
See ya.
Glad we finished the chapter before you got
Yeah, that was good timing.
Okay. All righty. So there, now are we done with the chapter?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I did read that. The millstone thing is such an awful thing. It just, the ultimate of punishment. And there's a bit of sadness. I mean, there's a rejoicing, but it's, I don't know. After I read this, I don't have the cheering section going, yay, yay, yay. I'm going,
Why? Why didn't they make a different decision?
why didn't they make it better? Why didn't they do something different? Yeah. Okay, so now we've gotten through 17 and 8.
Yes, we
Okay, and I'm going to turn off the recording.